very white today. What is going on, guys? My name is Landon, and today I bring you guys the Gfinity Spring Masters recap. If you guys missed it, it was actually this weekend. Gfinity Spring Masters won. Not the second one, but the first one. But no, Gfinity was this weekend, guys. It was absolutely amazing tournament. It was so much fun. My predictions were wrong, obviously. I usually predict things to be wrong, and we'll go over that. We're going to go over some cool stats we have from COD _stats and a lot of interesting things, because this tournament worked a little bit different than how normal tournaments actually work. Like, there was like a bracket inside the pool play. You guys are confused, don't worry, I got you. Let me get you guys in this recap. Let's get it going, man. Let me spit. Alright, so first what we're going to do before anything else is we're going to go over the final placings, which I'm going to go from like bottom to the top, you know, kind of just go over them. And this graphic, which you guys are going to see right now, is provided by COD Esportspedia. I don't always like to shout them out because I feel like I'm literally using their stuff every time I do a recap video and whatnot, but follow them. I'll put their Twitter in the link in the description. They are literally the best place, you know, to find updates and stuff like that. They're better than anyone else. I'm not just saying that because I know the people on it, but it's true. So now that I've sucked up enough, I'm going to go ahead and go over the final placings, which were coming in 13th through 16th was Team Infused, Mindfreak, anyway, Gamers2 and Fab Esports. Coming in 9th through 12th was Vitality Storm, Team Caliber, Strictly Business, and Hyper Games. Coming in 5th through 8th was Team Envy, Epsilon, Denial Esports, and Aware Gaming. Coming in 3rd and 4th was TCM and OpTic Nation. Coming in 2nd came Prophecy, and in 1st was none other than OpTic Gaming. So what we're going to do is kind of go over team by team how they did. Tell you what, we're actually going to go group by group, like 13 through 16, 9 through 12, 5 through 8, to go over it that way. I think it'd be a lot easier. I don't have to talk about every single team in particularly. That's a word. If it's not, sorry, but we're gonna do it that way. It'd be a lot easier. Coming in 13th through 16th, like I said, was Team Infused, Mindfreak, Gamers2, and Fab Esports. Not really surprised to see anyone but Mindfreak. I think I had like Mindfreak coming in 5th, and we'll go over my placings compared to the actual final placings here in a second. But yeah, Mindfreak didn't even get a single map on the board this tournament. Like, they went 0 for 6, and like how this tournament worked out, guys. If you guys are familiar, I'll show the graphic on the screen. How this worked was there's actually like pools, like in the pools that they had, or in the groups, you actually had a bracket. Like, you know, first would play, like, looking at Group A, OpTic Gaming played Gamers2. If OpTic moved on, they don't just play every single turn. They don't just play every single team in their like pool. They move on, and so on and so forth. So like it kind of, it's hard to explain, but you guys can see it by the graphic. I'm not going to try to explain something you guys already know. So that's kind of how it worked out. Unfortunately, Mindfreak didn't have a very good tournament at all. I think 3 of their players were in the lowest KD. So like out of every single player, 3 of their players were the worst. Unfortunately, I didn't really, if I would have saw Fab Esports, Gamers2, and Team Infused in 13th through 16th, I would have been like, okay, like no offense, but that's not like too crazy to me. Coming in 9th through 12th, we had Strictly Business, Team Caliber, and Vitality Storm. Definitely did not predict Team Caliber or Strictly Business or Vitality Storm. If you guys didn't know, I had Vitality Storm coming in 3rd. But no, starting with Vitality Storm, you guys can see in Group C, you know, they beat OpTic Nation off the bat, which is very impressive for them. I was like, ooh, man, they might actually do something this tournament. And then they had the next game, which they lost 3-0 to Envy. Kind of an easy win for Envy, not going to lie. And then they had to end up playing OpTic Nation again, which also went to a Game 5. However, OpTic Nation ended up getting the best of them. OpTic Nation had a pretty good tournament. I'm not going to lie. They played very, very well, so props to them. But unfortunately, like I said, Vitality Storm didn't really make it that far, and that's why they ended up placing how they did. Team Caliber, man, I did not expect this at all. They straight off the bat lost to Aware. I was like, okay, they have to do something now. They play Aware again, lose to them. Okay, so they 3-0'd Mindfreak, then they played Aware, and lost to him again. So Aware was definitely their kryptonite in this tournament for sure. So that's kind of unfortunate. However, Aware did pretty well, only placing, I believe they placed like 5th through 8th, but we'll talk about them in a minute. Did I project them to be in this exact spot? No. Am I surprised? Not really. Alright, now going off with 5th through 8th was, we're going to start off with the first team. You guys might be surprised by some of the teams that you're going to see in here, or at least one of them in particular, but I'm going to start off with Envy. Envy had some pretty good moments. They ended up, you know, getting out of their pool fairly easily. They 3-0'd Fab, and they ended up 3-0'ing Vitality Storm, which I was kind of surprised about, that game would be a little bit closer. Then it came to regular bracket play, which was like the 2 teams that made it out of each pool. Ended up being Team Envy versus TCM, and TCM ended up 3-0'ing them. Don't get me wrong, TCM had a great tournament. They ended up placing 3rd through 4th, so in my eyes, is that a bad loss? in a way because it's TCM. Like, I'm not saying that TCM is a bad team. They obviously played very well this tournament, but in my eyes, I'm not happy with this placement. I don't think anyone who didn't place top 2 is happy with their placings. Epsilon actually made it out of their pool. I didn't predict them to do it. They actually had a pretty good lineup for this tournament, and I believe that was Swanee, Mad Cat, Remy, and Facento. I'm like 95% sure that was their lineup, and I didn't actually know that. And whenever I was making my predictions, I didn't know what player they were going to be rocking with. I knew they had lost Tommy, and I knew that they had lost Josh, so I was kind of interested to see how they were going to do with this team. And they ended up, doing pretty well. They ended up losing to Prophecy, which was pretty insane. It was kind of interesting because if you guys didn't know, Nagafin and Aqua are on Prophecy, and on Epsilon, it's like I said, it's Remy and Facento. So it's kind of like having the TR. Like having the team revenge reunion is how I kind of worded it on Twitter. Denial places 5th through 8th. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought that Denial might beat OpTic Gaming in the finals of this tournament. I was not for sure how this was gonna work. You guys can see in Group B, they ended up playing pretty well off the bat. Ended up 3-0ing Hyper Games, ended up 3-2ing TCM. Like I said, TCM had a great event as well, and ended up beating them. However, when it came to bracket play, had to play OpTic Nation, and everyone thought, OpTic Nation's gonna have to play their very best to beat a team like Denial, and it went to a Game 5. It was an insane matchup, and OpTic Nation ended up getting the better of them, and ended up 3-2ing them. So Denial gets out, placing 5th through 8th, and I was very, very surprised with this placement. I think Clay had an insane event. He had like a 1.3 KD. He led in just about every single stat that had to do with killing, so Clay had a very good tournament. However, OpTic Nation just played out of their minds this weekend. So I'm, in a way, am I sad about that loss? Like, if I'm a player on Denial, am I sad about that loss? Yes. But whenever you lose to a team like OpTic Nation and how well they did this tournament, you got to kind of like look back at that. You can't really be, depressed because how well the OpTic Nation did. All right, coming in 3rd and 4th came first. We're going to talk about is OpTic Nation. OpTic Nation had an insane event. Massive props to them. They needed that. They needed to get that, that top 4 placing under their belt. That's exactly what they did. In Group C, they ended up beating Fab Esports 3-0, ended up playing Vitality Storm, and ended up 3-2ing them as well. Whenever it came to bracket play, they ended up playing Denial and beating them. That was a massive, massive, boost for them confidence-wise. I can't imagine beating the world champs like that when OpTic Nation has really been in a lot of downs, especially over the past couple months. That was huge for them, and I'm very, very happy to see how well they did. 3rd or 4th, you can't argue with that. If you're an OpTic Nation, you're happy with that, considering your previous placings. The other team placing third through 4th was TCM. TCM had a great event as well. I cannot say how happy I was to see the TCM boys do pretty well this tournament. They ended up playing Team Infused off the bat, ended up 3-0ing them. Ended up playing Denial, got 3-2. That was actually pretty good. They ended up taking 2 maps off Denial. They ended up having to play Hyper Games, ended up 3-0ing them. I definitely had TCM coming out of this pool. I did not expect them to do as well as they did. However, so came up to TCM playing against Envy and ended up 3-0ing Envy, like I said. That was an insane win for them. They absolutely dominated. If you guys didn't know, Gunshi, a known player, obviously, in the scene, ended up retiring this event. At least for the moment. He's not really, he's kind of tired of playing competitive Call of Duty. I think he's been playing it for like 8 years, he said, or something crazy like that. So, but massive respect to Gunshi. I love him. He's such a great player, and he really has a great attitude and whatnot. So I believe they're picking up Mad Cat in place of him. So that's going to be kind of interesting. We'll wait to hear official word on that. I'm sure that's probably going to happen very soon. So if it's already happened, I apologize. It probably is happening right now, to be honest with you. And they ended up playing OpTic Gaming, and they ended up losing 3-1. But to lose to the team that got first, honestly, I'm happy with that. You're going to lose to OpTic Gaming. OpTic Gaming, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the game. Can't argue with that loss. You can't argue with that loss there. So, massive respect to TCM this tournament. Coming in second was definitely the surprising placement of this tournament. To me, Denial and Prof, in my eyes, probably could have switched, and that would have been normal for me. Prophecy had an amazing event this weekend, man. I cannot even stress how surprised I was. Like I said, I didn't even have them coming out of the group. The first game that they played was against Mindfreak, and I was like, how is this one gonna go? Like, is Mindfreak gonna be, the team from Champs, or are they gonna, like, kind of shrivel up? That's exactly what they did. They shriveled up. They couldn't even do anything. Prophecy ended up easily 3-0ing them, and then it would come down to Prophecy versus Aware off a fresh one against TK. I was like, how is this matchup gonna do? Prophecy 3-0s Aware. They 3-0 a team who beat TK. So I was like, this team can be pretty serious when it comes to bracket play, and that's exactly how they're run kind of went. They ended up playing Epsilon first, ended up 3-1ing them. Later came to OpTic Nation, 3-1 them also. Now, if it would have been Prophecy versus Denial, I think that would have been one crazy matchup. I don't know who would have won that one. Obviously, Denial losing to OpTic Nation and Prophecy beating them. You could think, well, Prophecy's going to beat them normally. I don't know how that game would have worked out. I would have loved to see that one. That probably would have been one of the best games of the entire tournament. However, regardless, Prophecy ended up moving on to the grand final versus OpTic Gaming. OpTic Gaming ended up starting off very hot, and winning the series 2-0. Everyone was like, this is a 3-0 sweep. It's going to be easy. In On Retreat CTF, it came down to a overtime. It was like 35 seconds, I think, is what Prophecy had scored in overtime. So OpTic Gaming had to get at least a 35-second cap in. They ended up doing that off the bat. They ended up running toward their flag, and this dude Nagafen from Prof ended up grabbing the flag and sprinted away in just the nick of time to force a Game 5. Game 5 came down to it. We were all very, very hyped. Like, how is this going to work out? Came to Detroit S&D, and it ended up happening that OpTic Gaming would end up winning the overall tournament 6-4. Detroit S&D Game 5. We were like, is this going to go to round? Everyone wanted to see Aches versus Crim round 11 1v1. I was going to cry if that actually happened. But OpTic Gaming ended up winning the entire tournament. That was an insane run by Prophecy, though. Major props to this team who I'm not gonna lie, I doubted them. I doubted them 100%. I thought this team, they haven't really had a whole lot of success with each other. They've been playing for a little bit of time. And for them to have that much success when only hardly playing with each other, props. And obviously, OpTic Gaming ended up winning the tournament, having Enable as their 4th instead of Karma. That will be their last event with Enable. Ended up winning 2, which was like ESWC and Gfinity. So sweeping the European scene and winning both tournaments with Enable. So major shout out to them. Also, obviously, I think Enable was a great pickup for them. He worked very, very well, with their overall style. So I'm very interested to see how Karma's going to do once he comes back. And like I said, guys, so obviously Crim6 able to get that 19th championship at a major LAN. Now, Crim6 and Aches are tied for the most championships in Call of Duty history. But what we're going to do now is actually go over some crazy stats. I believe the top 5 KDs is what we have on board next. So as you guys can see, these are the top 5 KDs from the Gfinity Spring Masters. Coming in 5th was Apathy with 1.19. Apathy had an insane event. Definitely helped, Prophecy go as far as they did. Scump coming in at a 1.23. Form with a 1.24. Whenever you have 2 teammates in the top 5, and I think Crim was like in the top 7 or 8, or maybe even in the top 10, having 3 of your Slayers in the top 5, or almost the top 5, that's very impressive. I'm not gonna lie. That's very, very good. But coming in 2nd was actually Proofy. Proofy had an insane event, sledding wise, 1.32 KD. Really just played out of his mind. He played very consistent throughout the entire tournament. While he only played 9 maps and like 4 and Scump played 10 more than him, still, Proofy had a pretty good event. They ended up not placing very well, obviously like 5th or 8th, not the placing that they wanted. Proof had a really, really good tournament, I'm not gonna lie. But speaking on Clay, guys, Clay had a 1.33 KD at this tournament. Now, that's an insane KD. Anything above like a 1.1 is really good, but having above a 1.3 is phenomenal. And I want to show you guys this stat. This is coming from @COD_stats. Most of the stuff I show you guys is @COD_stats, but this was an amazing stat, showing a lot of stuff. Like I said, this is coming from @COD_stats. I'll put this on your guys' screen. This KD, Clayster's KD is mind-blowing. What he has done was 0.93 at Columbus, 0.99 at Orlando, and then all of a sudden he just turns it on. Season 1 champ, 1.14, regionals at 1.13, Call of Duty champs at 1.31, ESWC at 1.32, and Gfinity at 1.33. Having 4 tournaments with at least a 1.3 KD is insane. Like, you're reaching an entirely new level whenever you have above a 1.3 KD for 4 tournaments in a row and placing well. You have got to be kidding me. Clayster, to me, I'm just going into the MVP. Clayster, to me, 100% the MVP of this tournament for me. As far as the winning team goes, Formal, 100% the MVP for OpTic Gaming. Had some insane clutch moments and whatnot. Scump had an insane event as well. Not taking anything away from Scump, but to me, Formal was the most valuable player for OpTic Gaming. But like I said, guys, Clayster, without a doubt, the most valuable player right now in Call of Duty. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit it with a nice thumbs up. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day, and peace out.